Alright, so we move on to working on the top bar as promised. So you see over here the bar that we have here. Obviously we're going to handle all of these things in the future, so but in the meantime let's work on this one. Let's work on this. So for the profile picture here, what we want to do is I'll go back to VS Code and then I'll go to the navbar component. That should be, and you can search it up, Control P, and then brings this up. Then I'll search navbar, enter. Okay, so what are we trying to display? The profile picture, right? So first of all, we need to be able to call our user state, that context, the user context we have in our state. We need to call that. So I'm going to say const what? Like I said before, if you don't know what to have inside, you can just bring in an empty object and then equate it towards the use context hook, and then you can now pass in the auth context. Okay, it's weird how it's not showing, but I'd have to import it myself. I'm going to import the auth context. Let's import it from context folder, auth context, right? So it shows. Alright, so it's here. Okay, so now that we have this, I can now import the user, right? So I have the user here now, and then we are going to have to replace or do a bunch of replacements, right? So for the profile pic here, let me just say import no profile from, then we take the image from we'll go to profile. I think the image is going to be from the profile component, right? I think so. That one will go to the page, so pages, then we go to profile, then we have assets, then the assets has what I think user.png, and then so for that one, so here what we are going to say is inside this profile picture here we can do some quick checks, right? We can say if the user dot profile picture, I think it was profile picture that we named it, right? If the user dot profile picture, let's console log the user. Let's console log the user. Okay, let's quickly log back in. Okay, I want it to be in such a way that when I click log into your account, it takes me straight to the login page. So that is, I think that would be in the sign up or register page here. So register, and then we can come here below and try to find log into your account, and then for that we add a link from the React to outer DOM. Then we push this link right below the button, right? Then we give it a to prop, then the to prop takes it to login, right? So now that we have that, I can, okay, I'll put it in the text instead so that we don't change things. Let's put it in the text, right? So alright, so when we click on it, it takes us to login, and then we can log in with henry@gmail.com, henry as the password, login. Alright, so okay, so it's freezing a little bit because of the data that has to be rendered, but I'm just going to click OK and then come here. So as you can see, okay, the computer has frozen a bit. Okay, but things should be here in no time. Okay, I want to close this one, the alert. Okay, I want to close the alert here, and then I want to come to the side. Okay, the console on the side here. Oh, it's still slow. Alright, it's here. So I want to come to the console on the side here, and then you can see that it's a profile picture property that is here, right? So because of that, I want to go back to the navbar here, and I set it. So if the user.profile picture actually exists, then okay, our initial so okay, let me just do it. If the user.profile picture, I want you to understand something. If the user.profile picture exists, give it to us, right? But if it doesn't, I need you to give me no profile image, right? So if we go and check, you should see the no profile image here, because we have nothing in the profile picture. I just hope you understand. We are doing the check. If the user.profile picture doesn't exist, of which it doesn't, right, then we pass in no profile. But if it does, we would pass in the actual profile picture here, right? So now that we've been able to work on this, okay, let's add the alt. So user profile picture. Okay, now that we've been able to work on this, let us now move on to more things. Let's go into the log. And I realized that over here, the login page, something was logging out. No, I'll go to the login page and remove that as well, so that we stop the memory leaks and stuff, right? Okay, yes, let's log this one out as well, and yes, we should be fine now. Whenever I refresh the page, it should be clean. Right, now we can move on to the next thing. Now, as you can see here, anytime we refresh the page, even whether we log in or we don't log in, it takes us back to the login page or the register page, right? But we want to be able to make sure that we are working in the project, and then when everything is back to stable and back to normal, we now handle the constant user persistence functionality, right? So in order for us to be able to do that in the future, we would be using something called a local storage, which is here. So once we're able to store the user information inside the local storage, until we hit the logout button to remove the user information from the local storage, we wouldn't be redirected to the login page, right? But how do we fix this? Let me first of all log in henry@gmail.com, right? Henry, okay, right. Now that I am inside here, okay, yeah, I did forget that I actually removed the console log from it, right? So that means you have to get it from the database now. Okay, so okay, the PC is slow again, but give me a second. When I get back, I would have gotten it from the database. Alright, so I just go into the database. That should be here. I just go into the database, and this is Henry's information. So I'm quickly going to copy this, and then I'll go to the auth context here, and I'll just replace this null value with Henry's value here. I'll just take this out. I don't know why it's saving it like this, but I can take this out, take this one out as well, and then I'll just cut this one out as well. Then we should have this really simple information about Henry stored in the user information. I can clear the password as well. Yeah, so we have this stored for Henry. So now that we have this, let me refresh one more time, and we should see that we'd come back to the same page that we were. Okay, so this is perfect. Let us move on to like and unliking a post, because when I like, it just likes on the front end, but it doesn't actually make any request to the back end, right? So when I like this and I refresh the post, you see it come back to 0, right? So you can see 0, 0, 0, right? 0. So let us work in that route. Alright, so we're back into the post file, and then we want to work on the like and dislike, right? So basically, what do we want to start with? Like I said before, we want to make sure that this number keeps changing when we like and unlike, right? When we like and dislike, right? So in order for us to be able to do that, we need to do a few API calls, right? Now, how do we work on that? I'm quickly going to go back to the post file here, and then we look for the handle like. So for the handle like here, we can start a try catch block, right? A try catch block right on top of this. We can simply log out the error, and then we can even send a react toast message. We can send a toast the error message that will take the response from the error object, the response property, the data, and the message. We can do it like this too, and then we will now go into our api.js and then create the function or the emoji for it, right? So how do we do this? I'm quickly going to come here. Let me take this one, and I'll come here, and then over here I'll say what, like posts, like and dislike posts, right? And then it's going to take in what, the post ID. But how do I know that it's taking in the post ID? When we go back into let's go to the routes first, right? When we go to the like post here, when we click on it, you see it's taking from the request params and the request of body. But what at all is it taking in the params and the body? It's going to take what? It's first of all going to take the post ID, right? And then it's going to take the user ID from the body. So the post ID from the params, the user ID from the body. Then it performs the different things, and then we need to note that it's a put, right? It's a put right here. Okay, so now that we know this, I want us to go back to the posts here, and then okay, api.js here, right? And then we make sure that the user ID, that is the current user that is logged into ID, right? So now that we know this, I want to go to the posts, and I want to go to like posts, right? Like posts. Okay, so I need to check again to make sure that's the right name. Like posts here, just like posts, api.js, like post. Then we're going to take in what, the post ID instead. Okay, so we're going to take in the post ID, and we are going to pass in the user ID. Alright, so now that we've been able to get this right, we've been able to get this functioning as we expected to, what we're going to do is we're going to basically we need to change this to put as well. Then we go to post here, and then now import it. So let's make this an asynchronous function, and let's await this. Then after awaiting, we want to call the function we created, so like and dislike posts. Okay, so it has been imported at the top here. Why is it slow? Okay, it's been imported at the top here, so we can now use it. So the first one is what's the post.id, right? So post dot, then we take the ID of the post here. Then the second parameter is the user ID, right? but the current user, we've not been able to get it. So how do we get it? We are going to take it from the use context. So user, and it's equal to what? Use context. And then inside that use context, we have what? The auth context. Right, now that we have the auth context, you can see that we have an error here saying user has already been declared, right? But good news is in JavaScript you can set the nickname or another name you can use to call the variable right beside it, right? So we can create this thing, this colon, and then write current user, right? And we should be all set. Then when we come inside here, we can say what? Current user dot id. Alright, so now that we've been able to set this up, we need to do one more thing. Now when we are able to perform this action, the only thing it does is just increase the number, just increase it, okay, right? No checks, to verify if the process was actually successful and everything. So what we are going to do to make sure that we are making these checks before performing any action like these is that we are going to use another use effect here. Use effects. Let's use the snippet. I'm going to remove this and then use this, right? So over here, what we can do is we can set a slide, and you can say that what are we setting a slide to? We are setting a slide to true or false values, right? But how are we going to perform this check, right? We are going to say that we are setting a slide to check for what? So we are going to say that check inside the posts. Now when you go inside the post, look inside the array, the likes array, right? Look inside the likes array of the post, and then check if it includes the current user ID, right? Check if that post likes array include the current user ID, right? Now if it does include the current user ID, it will show true, and then that means that the number would increase whenever we like. But if it doesn't, then if it does include the user ID, it will remove it, right? It will remove the user ID. But if it doesn't, it would now increase the number and add that user ID, right? So now that we've been able to do this use effect, we want to do it based off of certain values, right? And the first value is going to be the current user dot id, and then the post.id as well, right? So, or even post likes actually. So it's going to be based off the post likes array instead, right? So now that we've been able to set this up, let us go and check it out. So I'll open it up. So as you can see, if you go into the database, you can see that most of these posts actually have no array, like they have empty likes and everything, right? They have the empty. So I'm basically going to select one of Ahmed's posts, right? So you can see that Ahmed's user ID is B4, right? B4. So you're going to be checking any of these posts inside the like arrays to see if current user Henry, who has the ID of B9, is inside, right? So what do? We go into this place, and then I'm quickly going to like this, and then it has increased, right? Now let's go to the database and check. When I refresh it by clicking here, and I check, I'm a B4, I'm a B4. Okay, I'm a B4. Okay, this one says it has one like. You can see B9, which is what the current user ID. Now let me quickly unlike or dislike, and let's go and check. Now if I refresh, I will check. I'm a B4 empty, I'm a B4 empty, and I'm a B4 empty. So as you can see, there are no user IDs in any of the arrays, and it has successfully performed the check and taken it out. Okay, so now that we know this, we can now move on to the next thing. Okay, but before we move on, let us check this post component and make sure that we are doing the right checks over here. So just like how we performed the checks for the other one, we can come down here, and that is, I think, the profile picture here, right? Now instead of it to be just like this, instead we can rather do the check, right? We can make the check here that says what? That show me this one in case this one exists, but if not, I need you to show me the user pic, right? Now that we've been able to set this up, I feel like we are done with this particular part. So we'd want to move on to uploading files or uploading your posts, basically. So you should be able to upload files and stuff and upload your posts in general, right? So that's the next thing. So basically, thank you very much for getting to this point of the series, and hopefully the next one, when we are working on this upload component here, you'd learn a bunch of other interesting things. Hopefully I'll see you then. Bye.